Have you ever wondered why your cat, that faithful partner who always looked for your company, suddenly began to ignore you for full days? If you are living this situation at this time, you need to understand something crucial. Your cat is not rejecting you by whim. It is detecting something in your spiritual life that you may not have noticed. Cats have extraordinary sensitivity towards spiritual dimensions, and when a chosen deus opens gaps in their spiritual protection, these animals are the first to perceive and react, moving away. Bible teaches us that deus can use any element of its creation to communicate with us, and your cat could be serving as a silent messenger that is alerting you about dangerous changes in your spiritual atmosphere. When Jesus Christ walked through this earth, animals recognize their divine presence. But when we, as chosen, we move away from that perfect communion with Deus, our spiritual field is altered, and animals detect it immediately. Today you will discover the 10 signals that reveal why your cat is ignoring you and what this means for your spiritual life. It is no coincidence that this is happening now in your life. It is a divine warning that you cannot allow to ignore. If your cat has changed its behavior towards you recently, this message could save you from more severe spiritual consequences. Before continuing, I want you to leave in the comments how many days your cat began to ignore you. We are going to build a community where we can share these spiritual experiences and support each other. If this content resonates with you and you believe in the power of Deus manifesting through its creation, sign to the channel now and stay until the end, because the last revelation could completely change your perspective about what is happening in your spiritual life. The faith teaches us that nothing in the creation of Deus is accidental, and the behavior of animals has been used by the Most High since biblical times to communicate with their chosen ones. Let us remember the story of Balaam in Numbers 22:28, where Deus opened the mouth of an ass to speak. If Deus can use an ass to transmit your message, why could you not use your cat's behavior to alert you about spiritual changes? When your feline begins to observe you from a distance, with that penetrating look but without approaching, he is acting as a spiritual sentry. Cats by nature are creatures that detect energies and presences that escape our limited senses. In the spiritual world, when a chosen opens gaps through wrong decisions, destructive thoughts, or departure from Deus roads, these openings create changes in the environment that surrounds that person. Your cat, who previously found peace and security in your presence, now perceives something different, something that does not generate confidence. It is as if it had detected the presence of something that does not belong to the atmosphere of divine protection that previously surrounded you. That is why he retires, not for lack of love for you, but because his instinct tells him that something is not right on the spiritual plane you inhabit. Brother, when Jesus Christ walked through this earth, animals recognized their divine presence immediately. There was nothing that disturbed them or made them flee, because their spirit was in perfect communion with the Father. But when we, as chosen, begin to get away from that perfect communion, when we allow thoughts, attitudes, or decisions that do not honor Deus, our spiritual field is altered. Your cat, who before felt safe and protected in your presence, now detects that alteration and responds instinctively, moving away. It is as if his animal spirit told him, "Here it is no longer safe as before." This is not a conviction towards you, but an opportunity for reflection that Deus is offering you. Bible tells us in Proverbs 27:5, it is better to express that hidden love, and sometimes that rebuke comes through the most unexpected signals. Your cat is not rejecting you. He is warning you. His distance is a silent call for you to examine your heart, your thoughts, and your recent actions. What has changed in your spiritual life? What doors have you opened that they were closed before? What commitments have you made not honor your call as chosen from Deus? Ancient wisdom teaches us that animals are mirrors of the spiritual state of those around them. Your cat, who previously sought your company naturally, now maintains a respectful distance because something in your spiritual atmosphere tells you to do it. It is not that you are afraid of you as a person, but it fears what has entered your spiritual space. Imagine for a moment, if your cat could speak, maybe I would tell you, "I love you, but there is something with you that does not let me approach as before." This situation reminds us of the history of the prophet Eliseo in 2 Kings 6:17 when he prayed, "I beg you, O Jehovah, that you open her eyes to see." Because there are spiritual realities that our physical eyes cannot perceive, but that animals do detect. Your cat sees what you don't see, feel what you don't feel, and their behavior is a window towards that invisible reality. The faith calls us to be sensitive to these signs, not to discard as a coincidence what could be a divine communication. When an animal that was always close moves away without apparent reason, it is time to pause, to pray, to look for Deus's face and ask, "Lord, what is happening in my spiritual life that my cat can see but I don't?" This departure from your cat should not lead you to despair but to spiritual action. It is an invitation to return to the foundations of your faith, to review your relationship with Jesus Christ, and to close any gap that you have opened unconsciously. Biblia promises us in James 4:8, "Bring yourself to God, and He will approach you." And when you approach Deus again with a sincere heart, when you restore your spiritual communion, you will see how your cat will also begin to approach again, because animals not only detect when something is wrong, but also recognize when spiritual harmony is restored. Your cat is waiting for you to return to being spiritually, that you close what you opened, that you know what was damaged. Your distance is temporary, but your message is eternal. Stay alert, stay pure, stay connected to Deus, because when a chosen walk in righteousness, even animals find peace in their presence. But when it deviates from the way, even the most faithful creatures feel the need to stay at a distance. Listen well, this brother. At the exact moment in which a chosen one makes a decision that opens a spiritual gap, the cat perceives it instantly. We do not talk about hours or days later, but at the same moment. It is as if these cats had a more sensitive spiritual radar than ours. Biblia teaches us in Ephesians 6:12 that we have no fight against blood and flesh, but against principles, against powers, against the governors of the darkness of this century. And when a chosen one opens a door to these forces through a wrong decision, the cat immediately detects that change in the spiritual atmosphere. It can be a thought of revenge that you fed for hours, a decision to consciously disobey Deus, or even the moment you decided to get away from the prayer and reading of Bible. At that precise moment, something changes in your spiritual energy, field, and your cat, which was calm by your side, suddenly raises your head, looks at you with a different expression, and moves away. It is not coincidence. It is pure spiritual perception. The animal feels that something invisible but real has just entered your space, something that was not there moments before. Your cat does not understand theology, but understands spiritual atmospheres, and when yours contaminates, he reacts immediately, moving away to protect himself. The faith reveals that when Jesus Christ inhabited among us, His presence was so pure that even the wildest animals calmed down in their vicinity. But when we, as chosen, allow elements that do not honor Deus in our lives, we create fissures in our spiritual protection. Your cat, who used to find rest and security in your presence, now feels that security has been committed. It is as if it had detected the presence of an invisible intruder in your spiritual home. Imagine that your physical home has always been a safe shelter for your cat, but suddenly someone dangerous enters. What would your cat do? He would hide. He would move away, seek protection. The same happens in the spiritual plane. When you open a gap through decisions that go against the principles of Deus, your cat detects that dangerous presence and reacts away. It is not that I am afraid of you, but that he fears what has entered with you. The Bible warns us in 1 Pedro 5:8, "Be sober and velad, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walks around looking for whoever devours." And when you open spiritual gaps, you give him the opportunity to approach. Your cat feels that proximity of spiritual danger before you. Brother, let me tell you something you may have never considered. Cats have a natural ability to discern spirits that we have lost due to our material approach. In the Old Testament, we found in 1 Samuel 16:14 that the spirit of Jehovah separated from Saul and tormented a bad spirit from Jehovah. When King Saul opened spiritual gaps through his disobedience, his spiritual atmosphere changed completely. If I had a cat nearby, that animal would have immediately detected the change and would have moved away. Your cat works as a living spiritual detector. When you make that decision to feed destructive thoughts, when you choose conscious disobedience, when you decide to get away from Deus's paths, something invisible but very real is activated in the spiritual world. It is as if you had sent a signal that says, "Here is a chance," and the dark forces respond to that signal. Your cat, with its natural sensitivity, immediately perceive that response from the spiritual world and react away. It is not superstition, it is spiritual reality. The faith teaches us that we live in a world where the invisible is as real as the visible, and your cat has access to that perception that we have lost. The speed with which your cat reacts to these spiritual gaps should amaze you and alert you. Do not wait to see the consequences of your decision. React to the moment you take it. It is as if it had an early alert system connected directly to the spiritual world. When Jesus Christ taught us to pray, "We do not set in temptation, more deliver us from evil," Matthew 6:13, he was warning us about the reality of these spiritual forces that seek opportunities to enter our lives. Your cat, without understanding theology, instinctively understands this reality and reacts accordingly. Think about it. How many times have you noticed that your cat changed your behavior just after you made a decision you knew was not correct? How many times did he move away precisely when you were feeding thoughts that did not honor Deus? These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that there's a spiritual reality that transcends what we can see with our physical eyes. Your cat is responding to that reality, and its departure is an alert signal that Deus is sending you through its creation. Bible tells us in Romans 1:20 that the invisible things of him, his eternal power and deity, become clearly visible since the creation of the world. And your cat is part of that creation that is showing you invisible truths. This phenomenon teaches us something deep about the responsibility we have as Deus, chosen. Each decision we make has consequences in the spiritual world, and those consequences are immediately detected by those who have the sensitivity to perceive them. Your cat is not just a pet. He is a silent witness of your spiritual state. When you open gaps through wrong decisions, you not only affectionate yourself, but you alter the entire spiritual atmosphere that surrounds you. Your cat, who previously found peace in your presence, must now move away to protect his own spiritual tranquility. This reminds us of the importance of maintaining our spiritual life clean and pure, not only for our good, but for the good of all the beings that surround us. The faith calls us to be aware that our decisions have an impact that goes beyond what we can see, and your cat is a living reminder of that truth. When you see that your cat moves away immediately after you have made a questionable decision, don't ignore it. Take it as a sign of Deus to reconsider your path and return to the path of righteousness. The silence of a cat that was previously communicative is one of the most powerful signals that you can receive from the spiritual world. When your feline, who used to snore, mow, and seek your attention constantly, suddenly becomes silent and distant, is revealing that he has detected something new in the spiritual environment that surrounds him. Bible teaches us in Ecclesiastes 3:7 that there is time to shut up and time to speak. And your cat, with its instinctive wisdom, knows when it is time to keep silent because something in the environment is not safe for normal communication. This silence is not passivity. It is maximum alert. It is as if your cat had activated a mode of spiritual survival, where every sound he makes could attract the attention of what has detected in your atmosphere. Cats by nature are creatures that constantly communicate with their owners through sounds, gestures, and behaviors. When that communication is cut abruptly, it is because they have detected a presence or energy that puts them on alert. Your cat feels that there is something new in the air, something that was not there before, something that does not recognize as sure. His silence is his way of telling you, there is a spiritual intruder here, and I will not do anything that can attract your attention to me. It is a primitive wisdom that we humans have lost greatly. The faith reveals that when Jesus Christ faced temptations in the desert, according to Matthew 4:1-11, there was a dramatic change in the spiritual environment of the place. The forces of evil concentrated there, and every living being would have detected that alteration in the atmosphere. Your cat has that same detection capacity as animals had in biblical times. When something new enters your spiritual environment, either through your decisions, your persistent thoughts, or even objects that you have brought to your home, your cat detects it immediately and responds with silence. It is as if he had put his spirit in mode of spiritual camouflage. He does not want to be detected by what has entered because his instinct tells him that he is not a benevolent. This silence is different from normal rest. It is a tense silence, alert, loaded with expectation. If you look carefully, you will see that although your cat is silent, their eyes are more alert than ever. Their ears constantly move sounds that you cannot hear, and their body posture reveals that it is ready to flee at any time. Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians 14:33 that God is not God of confusion, but of peace. And when that peace is altered in your environment, your cat is the first to detect it and respond with this protective silence. Brother, this silence of your cat is like an early warning system that Deus has placed in your life. Imagine that you have a smoke detector at home. When there is danger, the alarm sounds. Your cat works as a spiritual detector, but instead of sounding an alarm, it remains in absolute silence. It is his way of telling you, something has changed here, and it is not a good thing. In the book of Job 4:15-16, we read about a spiritual experience. And a spirit went ahead of me, which caused my flesh's hair to bristle. It stopped a ghost in front of my eyes whose face I did not know. Animals have that same ability to detect when a spirit passes through the environment. Your cat feels when something invisible but real moves in your space, and its instinctive response is total silence. It is not that he has lost the ability to communicate with you. It has consciously decided not to do so because it detects danger. This silence is his way of protecting, and at the same time to protect you, alerting you about the situation. The faith teaches us that we must be sensitive to these signs that Deus sends us through its creation. When your cat, who is normally vocal and expressive, suddenly becomes silent, it's time to stop and ask you, what has recently entered my life? What decisions have I made? What doors have I opened that they were closed before? The intensity of this silence also tells you something about the nature of what your cat has detected. A slight silence could indicate a lower alteration in your spiritual environment, but a deep and prolonged silence suggests that something significant has changed. It is as if your cat was constantly evaluating the level of spiritual danger and adjusting their behavior accordingly. In Daniel 6:22, when Daniel was thrown into the lion's pit, Biblia tells us that, "My God sent his angel, who closed the mouth of the lions." Animals recognize the divine presence and also recognize when that presence has altered or committed. Your cat, through his silence, is telling you that the spiritual atmosphere he previously knew and in which he felt safe is no longer the same. There is something new, something different, something that requires extreme caution. This silence is not temporary or casual. It is a deliberate response to a spiritual reality that he can perceive, but that you may not recognize. Wisdom tells us that we must pay attention to these signals, because animals often detect hazards that we overlook until it is too late. Your cat's silence also reveals something about the nature of what has entered your environment. It is something that prefers to operate secretly, something that does not want to be detected. Negative spiritual forces often prefer to work in the shadows, without being noticed, and your cat with their silence is recognizing that reality. It is as if he instinctively understood that making noise or getting attention could worsen the situation. In Ephesians 5:11, Bible tells us, "And you do not participate in the unsuccessful works of darkness, but rather reprimand them. But before being able to rebuke something, we must first detect it." Your cat has already detected it and is responding with the wisdom of silence. His behavior is teaching you that there are moments in the spiritual life where discretion is crucial, where we must be as cunning as snakes and as simple as pigeons, as Jesus Christ taught us in Matthew 10:16. The silence of your cat is a lesson of spiritual wisdom. There are times when the wisest thing is to remain silent, observe, and wait for the right time to act. But his silence is also an invitation for you to take spiritual action, so that they pray, to look for Deus, to identify what has changed in your life, and take the necessary measures to restore peace and security in your spiritual environment. Brother, never underestimate the methods that Deus uses to communicate with you. In his infinite wisdom, the Most High can use up to the distance of your cat as a clear sign that something is wrong in your spiritual life. Biblia teaches us in Isaiah 55, 8-9, "Because my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your paths are not my paths," Jehovah said. "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so they are my paths higher than your paths." Deus is not limited to speaking only through dreams, visions, or preaching. He can use any element of his creation to send you a message. When your cat, who always sought your company, suddenly maintains distance, Deus could be using that behavior as a silent but powerful language. It is as if the sky told you, "Son, something is not right. Stop, reflect, examine your heart." Your cat becomes an involuntary messenger, an instrument in Deus's hands to alert you about changes in your spiritual state that you have not perceived. The faith teaches us that Deus speaks in many ways, and sometimes uses the most unexpected signals to capture our attention. When all conventional methods fail to make you reflect on your spiritual condition, Deus can use something as simple as your pet's behavior to send you a message that you cannot ignore. The biblical story is full of examples where Deus used animals to communicate important messages to his chosen ones. In 1 Kings 17:4-6, Deus used crows to feed the prophet Elijah during drought. In Jonah 1:17, he used a great fish to discipline and redirect the rebel prophet. If Deus could use crows and fish for their purposes, why couldn't your cat the behavior used to talk to you? When your feline moves away and keeps distance, it could be the way Deus has chosen to tell you, "Volta, my son, repair the gap you have opened." It is a silent but urgent call to reflection and repentance. Your cat does not understand theology, but Deus can use its natural instinct to create a situation that forces you to ask the right questions. What has changed in my life? What decisions have I recently made that do not honor Deus? In what areas of my life I have lowered the spiritual guard? The distance of your cat becomes a mirror that reflects the distance you have created between you and Deus without realizing it. Jesus Christ taught us in John 10:27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." And part of listening to his voice includes being sensitive to the signs he sends through his creation. The faith reveals that Deus is a loving father who does not want any of his children to be lost or move away from the right path. When you use conventional methods to alert you, such as preaching, biblical reading, or the voice of other believers, they fail to capture your attention. He can resort to more creative and personal methods. Your cat, who knows your routine, your personality, and your habits better than anyone, becomes the perfect vehicle for a personalized message from Deus. His distance is not punishment, it is love correction. It is as if Deus told you, "I love you too much to let you continue on a path that will take you away from me." In Hebrews 12:6, we read, "Because the Lord who loves discipline and whips everyone who receives as a child." This discipline does not always come in the form of great crises or obvious problems. Sometimes it comes in the form of subtle but persistent signals, such as the change in your pet's behavior. Your cat's distance is a soft discipline, a loving correction that invites you to return to the right path before the consequences of your decisions become more severe. It is the mercy of Deus manifesting through a sign that only you can interpret correctly. Brother, when Deus uses your cat's distance as a sign, is appealing to your ability to spiritual discernment. He is not screaming at you. It is whispering you through a language that requires spiritual sensitivity to be interpreted. In 1 Kings 19:12, when Deus communicated with the prophet Elijah, he did not do it through the strong wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but through a gentle and delicate whistle. The silent distance of your cat could be that peaceful whistle that Deus is using to talk to you. It is a communication that requires you to stop, to silence in your heart, that you examine your life with honesty. Bible tells us in Psalm 46:10, "Stay still and know that I am God." And sometimes we need these subtle signs to force us to be still and reflect. Your cat, when maintaining distance, is creating a space of silence in your life that invites you to spiritual introspection. It is as if Deus told you, instead of looking for your pet's company, look for my company. Instead of asking you why your cat moves away, ask yourself why you have moved away from me. The physical distance of your cat becomes a metaphor of the spiritual distance that you have created without realizing it. The beauty of this method of divine communication lies in its personalization and persistence. Deus knows your love for your cat and knows that his unusual behavior will capture your attention in a way that other methods would not achieve. It is a signal specifically designed for you, taking into account your personality, your affections, and your sensitivity. In addition, it is a sign that is repeated day after day until you take action. Your cat will not return to its normal behavior until you return to your normal spiritual state. It is as if Deus had programmed a living alarm that cannot be turned off until the problem that activated it. In Revelation 3:20, Jesus Christ says, "Behold, I am at the door and I call. If anyone hears my voice and open the door, I will enter him, and I will have dinner with him, and he with me." Sometimes, that call to the door comes through your cat's distance, which is telling you, there is someone knocking on your spiritual door, but you are not listening to it. The faith calls us to be sensitive to all the ways in which Deus can be trying to communicate with us, including the most unexpected and subtle. When you see that your cat keeps distance without apparent reason, do not discard it as simple animal behavior. Consider it as a possible Deus signal that requires your immediate attention and your spiritual response. Over the years, I have heard shocking testimonies of brothers in the faith that exactly experienced this phenomenon. Their cats ignored them completely after a spiritual fall. Maria, a sister of our congregation, told me how her cat Esperanza, who for 5 years had slept in her bed every night, suddenly stopped approaching her just after a romantic relationship began that she knew she did not honor Deus. "Pastor," he told me with tears in my eyes, "my cat looked at me from the door of the room, but it didn't come in. It was as if there were an invisible barrier that prevented him from approaching." This testimony is not unique. It is a pattern that is repeated again and again among the chosen ones who have experienced spiritual falls. Bible teaches us in Galatians 6:7, "Do not fool yourself. God cannot be mocked, for everything that man sows, that will also be." And sometimes that mowing includes changes in the way animals respond to our presence. Maria continued in that relationship for 3 months, and during all that time, her cat maintained the distance. It was not aggressiveness. It was simply as if he didn't recognize her as the same person before. It was as if my cat knew something that I didn't want to admit, Maria reflected. She saw what I didn't want to see. There was something in my life that was not well in front of Deus. Carlos, another brother of our community, lived a similar experience when he decided to get away from prayer and biblical reading during a period of spiritual rebellion. His cat Simon, who had been his inseparable partner for years, began to avoid it completely. It was strange, Carlos told me, because Simon did not leave the house, but he acted as if I were a stranger. It watched me from afar, but when I approached, he left. It was like that for months. The most shocking thing about Carlos's testimony was temporary precision. The change in his cat's behavior coincided exactly with the moment he consciously decided to move away from his spiritual practices. It was not gradual, he explained. It was immediate. One day Simon was normal, and the next day, when I made the decision to stop praying and read the Bible, he changed completely. The faith teaches us that our spiritual decisions have immediate consequences in the invisible world, and Carlos's testimony confirms that animals can detect those consequences before us. Jesus Christ warned us in Matthew 12:30, "He who is not with me is..." Anna, a sister who had been involved in divination practices before meeting Jesus Christ, shared a testimony that marked me deeply. After years of walking with Deus, he had a moment of weakness and consulted a seer about his marriage future. "It was only once," he told me, "but my Romeo cat changed immediately." Romeo, who used to follow her throughout the house and sleep in her lap while she read the Bible, began to avoid it completely. The strangest thing, Anna continued, was that Romeo seemed to be afraid. It was not indifference. It was as if I had detected something dangerous in me. This testimony perfectly illustrates how a single decision to open incorrect spiritual doors can completely alter our spiritual atmosphere. In Deuteronomy 18:10-12, the Biblia is clear about the divination practices. It is not found in you who makes your son or daughter pass through the fire, nor who practices divination, neither agorero, nor sortilego, nor sorcerer, because it is abomination to Jehovah anyone who does these things. Anna knew this, but in a moment of weakness he gave up, and his cat immediately detected the spiritual consequences of that decision. Romeo did not return to normal until I regretted genuinely and renounced all divination practice, concluded his testimony. Roberto, a brother who fought with addictions, told me how his faithful cat moved away from him precisely when he fell to substance consumption after 2 years of sobriety. Phil had been my partner throughout my rehabilitation process, Roberto explained to me. When I prayed, he sat next to me. When I read the Biblia, he snuggled on my legs. But the day I relapsed, everything changed. What impacted Roberto most was that his cat changed his behavior even before he consumed the substance, just having made the mental decision to do so. I had bought the drug and had it in my pocket, he recalled, and Faithful began to act strange from that moment, before I consumed anything. This testimony reveals something deep about how our mental and emotional decisions affect our spiritual field, even before they manifest themselves in physical actions. Biblia teaches us in Proverbs 23:7, because what is his thoughts in his heart, such is him. And Roberto's cat detected the change in his heart before he manifested in behavior. Faithful I was warning me, Roberto reflected, but I didn't understand the signal until later. He knew something bad was about to happen before I did. These testimonies reveal a consistent pattern. The cats of the chosen ones not only detect spiritual falls, but respond to them immediately and precisely. It is no coincidence that all these brothers experience the same phenomenon in moments of spiritual commitment. The faith teaches us that Deus can use any element of its creation to communicate with us, and these testimonies confirm that domestic animals can serve as spiritual indicators of our state before Deus. The most beautiful thing about these testimonies is that they also include restoration. In each case, when the brother or sister repented genuinely and returned to the roads of Deus, his cat also returned to normal. Maria told me that Esperanza returned to sleep in her bed the same night that ended the incorrect relationship and regretted Deus. Carlos experienced Simon's return, exactly when he resumed his devotional daily. Anna saw Romeo approach again after her regret for consulting the seer, and Roberto witnessed how Faithful returned to his side when he renewed his commitment to sobriety and faith. These testimonies teach us that cats not only detect our spiritual falls but also recognize our restoration. They are like living spiritual barometers that faithfully reflect our state before Deus. Brother, it is crucial that you understand this fundamental truth. When your cat moves away from you, it is not fleeing from your person, but from something invisible that has entered your spiritual atmosphere. This distinction is vital to correctly understand what is happening in the spiritual plane. Your cat keeps loving you as he has always done. His spiritual survival instinct is what leads him to keep distance. It is as if he had detected the presence of an invisible intruder in your spiritual house, and his natural wisdom tells him that he must get away until that intruder leaves. Biblia teaches us in Ephesians 6:12 that we have no fight against blood and flesh, but against principles, against powers, against the governors of darkness of this century. And your cat, with its natural spiritual sensitivity, can detect when these dark forces approach your life. It is not personal against you. It is an instinctive response to a spiritual presence that he recognizes as dangerous. Imagine that someone dangerous would enter your physical house. Your cat would not flee from you, but from the intruder. The same happens on the spiritual plane. When you open doors through incorrect decisions, persistently negative thoughts, or departure from Deus, something enters your spiritual space, and your cat detects that strange presence. His departure is his way of protecting, not to reject you. The faith reveals that animals have a spiritual purity that we, as human beings, have lost due to sin. When Deus created animals, according to Genesis 1:25, God saw that he was good, That original goodness allows them to maintain a spiritual sensitivity that we have overshadowed with our decisions and thoughts. Your cat can distinguish between your essence as a person loved by Deus and the negative spiritual influences that may be temporarily affecting you. It is as if I had the ability to separate between the tu real and the external forces that are influencing your life. In the book of Job 1:6-7, we see how Satan appeared before Deus along with Deus's children, showing that negative spiritual forces can even approach the chosen ones. When this happens in your life, your cat detects that proximity and responds away, not because you are afraid of you, but because he fears what has approached you. His behavior is a confirmation that there is a real spiritual battle happening in your life, a battle that perhaps you have not fully recognized. Jesus Christ taught us in John 10:10 that the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, and when that spiritual thief approaches your life, your cat is the first to detect his presence. Brother, this understanding should bring you both relief and urgency. Relief because you know that your cat has not rejected you personally. Emergency because you recognize that there is something in your spiritual life that needs immediate attention. Your cat is acting as an early warning system, detecting spiritual hazards that you could not have noticed. In 2 Kings 6:15-17, when Eliseo's servant was alarmed by the enemy army that surrounded them, the prophet prayed, "I beg you, O Jehovah, that you open her eyes to see." And then the servant saw that there were more angels protecting them than enemies attacking them. Your cat can see what you do not see on the spiritual plane, and their behavior is an invitation to pray that same prayer. Lord, open my eyes to see what has entered my life that should not be there. The distance of your cat is not a judgment on your value as a person. It is a warning about spiritual influences that are affecting your atmosphere. The Biblia tells us in 1 Peter 5:8, "Be sober and velad, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, is around looking for whoever devours, and your cat is being sober and watching over you, alerting you about the proximity of that spiritual adversary." The wisdom of your cat lies in its ability to maintain love towards you while protecting from the negative influences that surround you. It is a deep lesson on how we should relate to other believers who are going through moments of spiritual struggle. We can love them without exposing ourselves unnecessarily to the negative forces that are affecting them. Your Isane cat is teaching you on healthy spiritual limits. He is not abandoning you, but he is not being exposed to what he has detected in your environment. In Proverbs 27:14 we read, "He who blesses his friend in a high voice, getting up early by curse will be told," teaching us that there are right and wrong ways of relating even to those who love. Your cat loves your essence, but it is wise enough to stay away from the negative spiritual influences that are affecting you. This is not cold. It is pure spiritual wisdom. He is waiting for you to identify and eliminate what has entered your life, to be able to return to the proximity they both enjoyed before. His distance is temporary, but his love for you is permanent. This revelation also teaches us about the nature of negative spiritual influences. They prefer to operate through people who already have access to our lives. They do not need to create new relationships. They simply use those that already exist. Your cat recognizes this tactic and responds by keeping up until the negative influence goes. In Luke 22:31, Jesus Christ told Pedro, "Simon, Simon, here is, Satan asked you to shake like wheat," showing that even the closest disciples can be used by negative spiritual forces. Your cat instinctively understands this reality and acts accordingly. You are not judging your heart or character. It is responding to a spiritual presence that has detected. The faith calls us to be as wise as your cat, capable of discerning between the people we love and the spiritual influences that may be affecting them. When your cat returns to his normal behavior, you will know that you have managed to close the door through which he kept him away. His return will be the confirmation that you have restored the purity of your spiritual atmosphere and that it is again safe for him to approach. Until then, its distance is a constant reminder that there is spiritual work to do, doors to close, and influences to expel your life. Brother, There is something deeply revealing in the way your cat observes you from a distance without approaching. This is not indifference or disinterest. It is a distant spiritual surveillance. Your cat is acting as a sentry, keeping a protective eye on you while waiting for spiritual conditions to improve enough to allow a safe approach. Biblia teaches us in Psalm 121, 3-4, "You will not give your foot to the slippery, nor will the one who keeps you keep you." From his strategic position, he can monitor both your state and the spiritual environment that surrounds you, constantly evaluating if it is sure to approach. His eyes fixed on you are not trial but of loving concern. It is as if I were telling you silently, "I am taking care of you from here, but it is not yet safe for me to approach." This distant surveillance reveals the depth of the link between you. He has not abandoned you. He has simply changed his protection strategy. Instead of being close physically, it is covering you spiritually from a distance that you consider safe. The faith teaches us that sometimes true love requires temporary distance to preserve the long-term relationship. This distant surveillance also reveals something about the nature of what your cat has detected in your spiritual environment. If it were something completely evil or dangerous, he would have fled completely from your presence. But the fact that it remains close, observing, suggests that it recognizes that the situation is temporary and that there is hope of restoration. It is as if his spiritual instinct said, "This is not permanent, but I need to keep distance until it is resolved." In 2 Kings 5:27, when Eliseo cursed Gehazi with lepra, the servant had to get away, but that did not mean that the relationship was ended forever. It meant that there were conditions that should change before there could be restoration. Your cat is applying that same wisdom. It maintains the visual and emotional connection with you, but establishes physical limits until spiritual conditions improve. Jesus Christ himself applied this principle when in Matthew 15:21-28, he initially kept a distance from the Canaanite woman, not for lack of love, but because there was a process that should be completed before he could intervene completely. Your cat is waiting for you to complete your spiritual cleaning process before returning to the previous intimacy. The intensity of his observation also tells you something about his level of concern for you. It is not a casual look, it is an intense surveillance, like that of a guardian who is genuinely concerned about the security of the one who protects. Into Ezekiel 3:17, Deus told the prophet, "Son of man, I have put you for Atalaya to Israel's house. You will hear then, you the word of my mouth, and you will admonish them from me." Your cat is functioning as a spiritual watchtower, constantly observing to detect any change in your situation that could indicate improvement or worsening. His eyes are evaluating multiple factors: your body language, your spiritual energy, the invisible presences that surround you, and the general atmosphere of your space. It is a constant and multidimensional evaluation that requires all its attention. The faith teaches us that we must assess those who monitor us spiritually, even when that surveillance comes in unexpected ways, such as the behavior of our pets. Your cat is investing significant emotional and spiritual energy in staying under observation, which is a manifestation of love, not rejection. Brother, this distant surveillance is also a form of silent intercession. Although your cat cannot pray in the human sense, its constant attention to you creates a form of spiritual coverage. It is as if I were maintaining a sacred space of loving concern around your life. In Romans 8:26, we read that the Spirit itself intercedes for us with unspeakable groans. And although your cat is not the Holy Spirit, Deus can use its constant surveillance as part of a broader system of intercession and protection. Your distance presence maintains an active spiritual connection between you, a connection that is waiting for the right time to manifest again in physical closeness. Biblia tells us in Psalm 32:8, "I will make you understand, and I will teach you the way you should walk. On you I will fix my eyes," and your cat is reflecting that same divine attitude of loving observation and silent guide. His fixed eyes are a silent promise that you are not alone, even when you feel that you are going through a moment of spiritual isolation. The patience that your cat demonstrates in this distant surveillance is also a deep spiritual lesson. He is not pressing you to change rapidly. He is waiting patiently for you to do the spiritual work necessary to restore the conditions that will allow his return. In Isaiah 30:18 we read, Therefore, Jehovah will wait to have mercy on you, and therefore, he will be exalted having from you mercy, because Jehovah is just God. Blessed all those who trust him. Your cat is manifesting that same patient and merciful waiting attitude. Brother, when a chosen one exposes himself spiritually and his cat begins to maintain distance, the solution is not to wait passively for things to improve alone. The responsibility falls completely on you. You must identify what you opened and close it deliberately. Biblia teaches us in James 4:7, "Submit then to God, resist the devil, and flee from you." But before resisting, you must first recognize which spiritual doors you have left open that have given you access. Your cat will not return until you have completely closed those spiritual openings. It is as if there were a spiritual alarm activated in your life, and that alarm will not go out until you eliminate the cause that activated it. It can be an incorrect relationship that you have been feeding, thoughts of resentment that you have been cultivating, practices that you know do not honor Deus, or simply the abandonment of your basic spiritual disciplines, such as prayer and biblical reading. The faith teaches us that each spiritual door that we open must be consciously closed. They do not close automatically over time. Your cat is waiting for you to take specific spiritual action, not that you simply expect things to improve. In Ephesians 4:27, Paul warns us, "You do not give place to the devil, and when you have given rise, you must actively remove it." Your cat will remain at a distance until you have completed this spiritual cleaning process. The precision with which your cat detects when something opens spiritually also means that it will detect with the same precision when you close it. You cannot deceive your cat with surface changes or half decisions. He will detect if you have really closed the spiritual doors or if you have simply aimed them a little less. In 2 Chronicles 7:14, Deus promises, "If my people will humiliate on, which my name is invoked, and pray and look for my face and become their bad roads, then I will hear from the heavens, and I will forgive their sins, and I will heal their land." This verse establishes a specific process: humiliation, prayer, search for Deus's face, and conversion of bad roads. Your cat is waiting for this complete process to complete, not just a part of it. If you have opened spiritual doors through incorrect relationships, you must end those relationships completely. If you have opened doors through destructive thoughts, you must renew your mind completely with Deus's word. If you have opened doors through the abandonment of your spiritual practices, you must restore those practices completely. Jesus Christ taught us in Matthew 12:43-45 about the danger of cleaning a spiritual house but leaving it empty. You must not only close what you opened, but fill it with the presence and word of Deus. Your cat will not settle for partial cleaning. Its spiritual instinct will detect if you have done the complete job, or if there are still openings that need attention. Brother, the process of closing what you have opened requires brutal honesty with yourself and Deus. You can't close spiritual doors that you don't recognize having opened. You must make a complete spiritual inventory of your recent life, examining your decisions, your thoughts, your relationships, and your practices. In Regrets 3:40, the prophet Jeremiah wrote, "Let's scrutinize our paths and look and turn to Jehovah." And this scrutiny must be exhaustive and honest. Your cat is waiting for you to do this introspection work and take action based on what you discover. It may be painful to recognize the areas where you have failed or the wrong decisions you have taken, but it is necessary for restoration. The faith teaches us that Deus cannot heal what we are not willing to recognize as injured, and cannot close what we are not willing to admit as open. In 1 John 1:9, we are promised, "If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive our sins and clean us from all evil." But that confession must be specific and complete. Your cat will not return due to general confessions or superficial regrets. He will detect if you have identified and specifically closed the doors you opened. It is as if he had a spiritual authenticity detector that cannot be deceived. The urgency of closing these spiritual doors is not only to recover the proximity of your cat, but to protect your own spiritual life from greater damage. In John 10:10, Jesus Christ warned us that the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, and every open spiritual door is an invitation for that thief to be more deeply in your life. Your cat is acting as an early alert system, detecting the presence of that spiritual thief before it causes irreversible damage. His distance is a mercy that is giving you time to act before the consequences become more severe. Bible tells us in Hebrews 12:15, "Look well, lest anyone stop reaching the grace of God." That sprouting some root of bitterness, it hinders you, and for it many are contaminated. Open spiritual doors are like roots of bitterness that, if not treated, can contaminate your whole spiritual life. Your cat is detecting those roots before they extend too much, giving you the opportunity to start them completely. The process of closing what you have opened may require pastoral help, spiritual counseling, or the support of mature brothers in the faith, but it is a process that you cannot postpone indefinitely. The complete restoration of your relationship with your cat will be the external confirmation that you have successfully closed the spiritual doors you had opened. When your cat returns to your normal behavior, looking for your company and showing the same confidence as before, you will know that you have completed the necessary spiritual work. But until that moment, its distance is a constant reminder that there is a job to be done. In Revelation 3:20, Jesus Christ says, "Behold, I am at the door and I call. If anyone hears my voice and open the door, I will enter him, and I will have dinner with him and he with me." Ironically, for your cat to return, you must first close the wrong doors you have opened, and then open your heart to Jesus Christ. It is a closing and opening process. Close what should not be open, and open what should be open. Your cat is waiting patiently for you to complete this process of spiritual reorganization. The faith assures us that when you do it with sincerity and completeness, not only your cat will return, but that your spiritual life will be stronger and more protected than before. The distance period of your cat, although painful, will have served as an opportunity for spiritual growth and purification that will benefit you for the rest of your life. If at this moment your cat is ignoring you, I want you to understand something fundamental. You are not being rejected. You are being warned. This distinction is crucial for your spiritual growth and for your correct response to this situation. Rejection implies a final decision, but a warning implies an opportunity for correction and restoration. Your cat has not decided to leave you forever. He has decided to remain at a distance until spiritual conditions improve. Bible teaches us in Proverbs 27:5, "It is better to express that hidden love." And your cat's behavior is a manifest form of rebuke that arises from love, not from rejection. It is as if the sky was telling you through your pet, "Son, there is something in your life that needs urgent attention, and you have time to correct it before the consequences become more severe." This warning is packaged in a way that you cannot easily ignore, the change in behavior of a being that you love and that normally looks for you. The faith teaches us that Deus uses diverse methods to capture our attention when other more subtle methods have not worked. Your cat ignoring you is a spiritual alert sign that requires your immediate response, not your despair or self-pity. The temporal nature of this warning should fill you with hope, not of despair. In Jeremiah 29:11, Deus declares, "Because I know the thoughts I have about you, says Jehovah, peace thoughts and not bad, to give you the end you expect." And your cat's behavior is aligned with those thoughts of peace and restoration. It is not a permanent conviction. It is a temporary intervention designed to take you back to the right path. Your cat is acting as an instrument of divine mercy, alerting you about spiritual problems while there is still time to solve them. If it were true rejection, he would have completely disappeared from your life. But the fact that he remains in your home, although at a distance, indicates that he is waiting for your correct answer to his warning. Jesus Christ taught us in Revelation 3:19, "I rebuke and punish all those I love. I know, jealous and repent." And your cat's behavior reflects that same love that rebukes to restore. The warning you are receiving is evidence of divine love, not of divine abandonment. It is an opportunity disguised as crisis, an invitation to reflection and spiritual growth. Brother, the urgency of this warning should not take you to panic, but to immediate and effective spiritual action. In Isaiah 55:6, we are urged, "Look for Jehovah while it can be found. Call him as soon as he is close." And your cat's behavior is reminding you that this is the time to look for Deus intensely. Do not wait until tomorrow. Do not postpone until next week. The warning you are receiving requires immediate response. Your cat is giving you the opportunity to identify and correct spiritual problems before they become major crises in your life. It is like having a smoke detector that sounds before there is a real fire. You can turn off the problem in your initial stage before it causes significant damage. The faith teaches us that divine warnings are acts of mercy that allow us to avoid more severe consequences. Instead of feeling frustrated by your cat's behavior, you should feel grateful to have an early and reliable early warning system. His ignorance towards you is his way of shouting silently, "Attention! There is something that needs to be corrected right now." Bible tells us in Hebrews 12:11, "It is true that no discipline to the present seems to be a cause of joy, but of sadness. But then it is given a gentle fruit of justice to those who have been exercised there." And this experience with your cat, although painful now, will produce lasting spiritual fruit if you respond correctly. The specificity of this warning should also motivate you to do an exhaustive spiritual examination of your life. Your cat is not reacting to general or vague problems. It is responding to something specific that has detected in your spiritual atmosphere. In Regrets 3:40, the prophet wrote, "Let's scrutinize our paths and look and turn to Jehovah." And your cat's behavior is inviting you to do exactly that. You should ask yourself, what decisions have I recently made that do not honor Deus? What thoughts have I been feeding that they are against their will? What spiritual practices have I abandoned? What relationships have I developed that they compromise my testimony? The warning you are receiving is as specific as the decisions that caused it, and your answer must be equally specific. You cannot solve this problem with superficial changes or vague promises. You need to identify exactly what you opened spiritually and close it completely. Jesus Christ taught us in Matthew 7:7, "Read and you will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Call and you will open." And part of that search process includes honestly looking for the areas of your life that need correction. Your cat is waiting for you to do that search and that you act based on what you find. The promise implicit in this warning is that when you respond correctly, the restoration will be as real and tangible as the warning itself. Your cat will not only return to its normal behavior, it will return with a renewed confidence that will confirm that you have done the necessary spiritual work. In Joel 2:25, Deus promises, "And I will restore you the years that the caterpillar, the sultan, the revolton, and the lobster." And that restitution includes the restoration of relationships that were affected by your incorrect spiritual decisions. The relationship with your cat can emerge from this stronger experience than before, because you will have learned to be more sensitive to spiritual signs and more diligent in maintaining your clean spiritual life. The faith assures us that no experience in the life of a believer is wasted if we respond correctly to her. Your cat's ignorance period, although painful, can become a catalyst for significant spiritual growth and a deeper relationship with Deus. When your cat returns, and will return if you do the necessary work, you will have not only your feline partner back, but also a deeper understanding of how Deus communicates with you and how to keep your spiritual life in order. For now, do not feel rejected. Feel warned, feel loved, and feel motivated to take the spiritual action that this situation requires. Brother, after everything we have revealed today about why your cat ignores you, I want you to understand something fundamental. This is not the end of your spiritual history. It is the beginning of a new stage of growth and maturity in your faith. Your cat is not punishing you. He is warning you about a divine opportunity to strengthen your relationship with Deus and close the spiritual gaps that could be putting your eternal destiny at risk. Your cat's distance is temporary, but the spiritual lessons you learn from this experience can transform your life forever. When you take the right actions, genuine repentance, sincere prayer, and closing of incorrect spiritual doors, you will not only see your feline partner, but you will experience a complete restoration of your spiritual coverage. Now I want to listen to you. Which of these 10 signs resonated more deeply with you? Did you identify which spiritual door you need to close in your life? Share your experience in comments and tell us how you are going to apply these revelations. Your testimony can be the confirmation that another brother needs to understand what he is living. If this message touched your heart and helped you understand the situation with your cat from a spiritual perspective, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so as not to miss more content that reveals the extraordinary ways in which Deus communicates with his chosen ones. Share this video with someone who is also going through this experience. On the screen will appear our next recommended video about the 7 signs that you are a chosen one that Satan wants to destroy. Content that will perfectly complement what you just learned and will help you even more strengthen your spiritual life. Remember, when your cat returns to your side, it will be the confirm that Deus has heard your cry and restored your spiritual coverage. Until then, use this distance time as an opportunity for growth and purification, that the peace of Jesus Christ is with you, and that you can soon celebrate not only the return of your cat, but the complete restoration of your spiritual life. A fraternal hug, Jose.